Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, figured do a little check in there. I mean, the World Series not over yet. And you got to like the Phillies' tenacity. Again, kind of coming out of nowhere, late surge. And how many times do you see that in the postseason? Getting by the Cardinals 2-0 in the first round. Surprising the Braves a little bit in the next round. And then after that, also taking another young, tenacious team, the Padres, and getting past them as well. I could possibly see the Phillies winning this one, but overall, I still think at the end of the day, kind of the veteran and kind of the meticulousness of the Houston Astros will win over at some point. That would probably end up winning the series. But again, of course, I would rather see the Phillies take it, even though, Philadelphia is New York's main rival, especially with the football and the baseball, that stuff. But again, probably at this point, hating Houston a lot more. So like to see them. And again, they got a shot there. Again, Verlander has not looked good at all this postseason, of course, except when he pitches against the Yankees. But even that first game one there against the Yankees, it wasn't really his usual sharp self there. So, there's a good opportunity. Probably the Phillies going to see Verlander again, so that could be another win to upcoming for them. So again, we'll see how that goes. But nevertheless, for the Yankees, the team we all love and enjoy, I'll get into them in a moment. But before we do, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. So there's going to be a lot going on. We have the whole offseason, got a bunch of free agent conversations to have, and trades, and, well, of course, the whole Aaron Judge thing, like a $400 million play he might be. But, those little details we'll all get into. But get that news updates and, commentary. Got to be a podcast subscriber. So wherever you listen to us right now, subscribe to the podcast. Got the rest of this, postseason, which will be over in a couple of days. And, of course, a long offseason ahead, entering to spring training. So got you covered all there. So, as mentioned before, a couple of Yankees got some good news on an individual basis. A couple of Gold Gloves announced, so the Rawlings Gold Glove Award winners for the Yankees. Now, it's the first time since 2012 that actually two Yankees both won awards in the same year. So behind the plate, catching, Trevino gets a Gold Glove, first time in his career. And then kind of an interesting new thing they call the Utility Man Gold Glove. That going to Mr. DJ LeMahieu. Now, it's his fourth Gold Glove overall, but first time in the American League. And it's kind of this new thing to kind of reward players that are, play multiple positions. So, I don't really love it. I like kind of the old way of just, hey, look, one position, one Gold Glove for that. But if you look at the case of DJ, you got to appreciate his talent. Again, he can play first place, play second place, play third place, and does it exceptionally well. So, I guess this kind of awards him for that. So, it's his fourth overall, and the first, again, in the American League, and he won a few in his days with Colorado. And you might think, wait, what's up with Anthony Rizzo? But unfortunately, the nod for that went to Vladdy Guerrero Jr. up there in Toronto. So of all of them, you'd think, Rizzo would get a Gold Glove. But I guess, whatever reason, I guess Vladdy, I guess they consider him also, flashy player. And he's a bit more of an offensive weapon than Rizzo. And even that shouldn't make a difference. But I guess they take all this stuff into account. So nevertheless, Vladdy gets the nod there at first base. But again, good for Trevino. Again, he kind of came over here as sort of a backup to Higgy in a way, more or less. No one expected much of him. Again, that's a trade you have to give credit to Cashman. And I gave you my whole little soliloquy on that about an episode or two ago about, we got to look at some of the good moves Cashman has made. And, he basically got him at the beginning of the year for Albert Abreu, brings him here. We don't really know much about him. And to more or less taking the starting job away from Higgy, is an all-star catcher. I would say 3/4 of the season was reliable with the bat. I think he tired out a little bit in September. So you saw Higgy actually being a better hitter during September. But I think Trevino tired out a little bit, perhaps, again, taking on these duties, being the catcher full-time for almost a full season for the New York Yankees, pretty much, even though he was splitting some duties there with Higgy. But kind of a first for him. So I think he did, again, run out of gas a little bit. Gave you absolutely nothing, really, in the playoffs. But during the season, was good for the Yankees. Nothing overwhelming with the bat, but, good contact at the right time, part of a lot of kind of late inning rallies and ninth inning and kind of walk-off type of sequences, being part of that, kind of keeping the train moving along, getting some big doubles and big spots there. So, again, nifty with the bat. And, of course, considered one of the best framers in the game, which have helped the Yankees pitching staff. He's get a lot of strikes. And, again, why early on the Yankees were kind of looking like they were headed to the World Series themselves this season, just with the great starting pitching and bullpen contributions before everything kind of went to shambles there towards the second half of the season. So nevertheless for him, and of course DJ, so the full breakdown of him: 35 games at first base, 41 games at second base, and 47 games there at third base. So you want to do a little math there for simple math. So you're looking about 120 out of 160 games there. So I'm sure he had a few games where he DH. So I guess that's enough to qualify. You hate to see what happened with the Yankees and Tino Martinez way back in the day. I believe it was 98. Rafael Palmeiro played maybe 80 or 90 games only at first base. Compared to Tino's like 140, but because Palmeiro had more of a higher percentage or whatever, but he played less games, they awarded to Palmeiro there. So I don't think it's a total. I think 120 games in the field is decent enough. Should be more like 130, but nevertheless, I think it's in the ballpark where no one can really complain and say, "Well, he just got it because he's a Yankee," stuff like that. No, I think it's a fair amount of games, and again, you're doing it at different positions and excelling at different positions. So I'm okay with it. I don't love it, but nevertheless, so two Gold Gloves for the Yankees. That's kind of what they walk away with the season. And of course, on the Judge front, kind of the big news is that you're hearing that San Francisco is going to pull out all the stops to bring him in here. So we'll see what that means money wise, and how far is Hal and Cashman and the Yankees willing to go there. Again, previous episode kind of mentioned that it seems like Hal is going to retain Boone and Cashman as the GM and manager of this team. No surprise there. Even though fans want someone's head on a civil. I'm not even pronounce the damn thing right. The pole where you stick someone's head in after you cut it off, whatever that thing is. They want Boone and Cashman's head on those things, but I don't think it's going to happen, and this doesn't sound like it's going to happen. Probably would have happened much sooner if that was going to be the case. You don't leave the manager and the GM just lingering around like this, and then wait till after the first season, after the World Series, to can them. So the fact they've still been hanging around a couple of weeks after the season's been over means they're probably sticking around. So again, for the near future, you're looking at that dynamic duo coming back at least for 2023. And again, I'm okay with it. And if you look what the Houston Astros just did with the Phillies, they did a combined no-hitter against them. So everyone says, well, the Yankee offense is terrible and they're overmatched, and the other team scouts bet against them. Well, how was Houston also able to do that to the Phillies, who are supposed to be this hot team, young team, and aggressive and all that stuff, and have young players and Bryce Harper? It could happen to anybody. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that. And of course, Jose Canseco, I don't know if you heard about this one, threw his 2 cents in that Aaron Judge should flee New York. Why would you want to go play a place that boos you? And I understand from his perspective as the athlete thinking that, but yeah, I gotta understand there's all different types of boos. There's boos that we hate you. If you're just like someone like Kyle Farnsworth, that's terrible. But then there's boos of like Derek Jeter have gotten and Judge has gotten, where it's like, hey, come on, you're better than this. What are you doing? Those are more boos of encouragement. It's not boos of hatred. It's more like, hey, tough love type of boos. And again, I don't think boos and not boos is why Judge is going to stay or not. It's going to come down to money, of course. But I think a lot of some athletes that, again, Canseco was here for a cup of coffee back in 2000. Technically, he was part of the 2000 Yankee team, but all he knows is being a visiting player and kind of maybe hearing some stories from other people. But when you're around the team, you're out in the bleachers and they're chanting your name and all that stuff, what's what. And I don't think those words really going to mean much to Judge anyway. It's all going to come down to dollars and cents. So kind of what you got. So a bit of a short episode, not too much. So, the World Series keeps going on. We'll see how that ends. A couple of Gold Gloves for some Yankees, so whatever want to take some solace into that, some small victory in that. And of course, once the World Series is over, it's all going to be about Aaron Judge, and that's when all the drama's going to start. And you're looking at Brian Cashman being the one who's going to lead the negotiations, at least on the Yankees side. So, Section 420 Talking Yankees. More episodes coming up throughout the rest of this, postseason that's about to be done, off season, spring training, the whole 9 yards. Sign up, Section 420 Talking Yankees. Subscribe, like, follow, crush the button. Catch you next time.